Good evening, comrades. This is your brother Jamala, also known as Brother Soldier 4D. Today, I want to look at a topic about simply right and wrong. A very, very broad range of things can be said about what is right and wrong. Depends on the context of what we're dealing with, depends on the topics, depends on the subject. When we talk about the Black African struggle, whenever a person is in bondage, whenever a person is in subjection to abuse and being misused, it is always right to maneuver out of those type of situations just to get liberated. It's always right. There's nothing wrong about freeing yourself from slavery. There's nothing wrong about freeing yourself from colonization. There's nothing wrong with freeing your mind from being shackled with fear, depression, suicide, overwhelming stress. There's nothing wrong with freeing yourself, your soul being liberated by the power of God. There's nothing wrong with that. When a doctor comes to help you cure an illness, there's nothing wrong with that. No matter how you want to look at it, dissect it with your intelligence, with your education, with your doctoral degree, your master's degree, no matter how many degrees of scholarship you have, when it comes to freeing yourself from bondage, such as the Black African struggle, it is the right thing to do. Remaining in it is what's wrong. So in this context, we want to talk about right and wrong. Now, if the ability for us as a people to express ourselves is taken from us, and we're gagged where we cannot speak for ourselves without being retaliated against, harmed, we don't have freedom of speech, then we're bound. It is wrong. But when we try to maneuver out of that, it's right. If I am a slave and I'm on a plantation and I have change and I want to be a free man like any other human being, it is right to try to find a hammer and a chisel to break those chains. If I'm bound to lust, bound to vile affections, bound to murderous spirit, shackled by the powers of Satan, then it was right to cry out, to be delivered, to be freed, to have those chains also broken. So, in that sense, we are right. Now, in the context of the Black African struggle, whenever people were on the ships being taken into slavery, were trying to escape, whenever they fought on the shores to not be sold, fought on the shores to not be put on the ship, or when they're in the plantation, fight to get off the plantation, run, or they get in a group and they rap about how we're going to get out of this. That is liberation theology. That is the call like Moses had to the children of Israel. That is what you call liberation theology. Some people say theology is of the devil. My Pentecostal brothers, they say Afrocentric type theology and ministry is not what Jesus came for. But see, our liberation is contextual. It depends on the context we're in. And anytime you're trying to get yourself out of something into a better human form of freedom, it is called liberation theology. So if you see people like Ya Asantawa that fought to try to get some of her people out of bondage, Harriet Tubman that ran through the Underground Railroad trying to get her people out, then Mark Vesey trying to encourage slaves to be free, Nat Turner burning down and escaping from plantations as a preacher, Christian preacher. This is liberation theology. The methods, we can say, are controversial, but they did go against many of the laws at that time because the laws were slated against your freedom. So when we talk about liberation theology, it's contextual. It's in the context of the struggle. Manhood and womanhood is defined at that instant in the context of the struggle. Am I a man or a woman at the time that I'm seeking to liberate myself and my people? Manhood is defined in that context. Not siding with the wolf or siding with your oppressor just to survive and get you a little bit of soup and porridge to make it through the day and keep ever so hardships landing on your brothers and your sisters when they're trying to be liberated. So that is what you call liberation theology. They say in many instances, and I'm going to jump around here a little bit on y'all because my mind is moving. They say there's only two types of people, right and wrong. Whether they're European or African, right, or European and African, wrong. But see, in 1 John 2:21, it says, no lies of the truth. And then in the 52nd chapter of Isaiah, verse 20, it said, woe to them that call evil good and good evil. So when you have people calling evil good and good evil, that means they're saying whatever is good is wrong and whatever is wrong is good, or the word right. So these are people who have taken what is wrong, flipped it to say that it is now good, and those people who were once good are now bad. So Christians, this is a warning to you. They're now changing the laws and making things that we call once wrong, right. And they're saying things that we once called right, wrong. So that means that they're paving a path to make persecution come towards the church and those that believe. So you keep your eyes open and your mind free, because those shackles and that bondage and those chains are trying to come back in many different forms. So it is not just enough to say there's good and bad, right and wrong, because those things have been switched to where it's in the eyes of the beholder who wants to say what is right and what's wrong for them. But there is the beauty that there's truth out there. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And it also says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Okay? And let's see, where is that scripture? The truth, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. I have that here. And let's see, I can't remember that scripture right away. But I believe I'll get back to that. I don't see it here in front of me. But anyway, truth is the basic foundational strength that'll tell you whether something is right or wrong, or good or bad. So if a person is in the truth, then chances are they are headed to the right way in order to be a right person. And the person is in a lie, they're headed in the path of wrong. So no lies of the truth. Okay? So we want to now deal with, since things are being flipped and turned around against us, we want to stand on truth and truth alone. And that's what's going to make it right. So if I try to get out of bondage, it's the right thing to do. If somebody tries to hold me into bondage, you know who's wrong, no matter if they justify it. Remember, Dr. King said everything that Hitler did in Germany was legal. Doesn't mean that it was right. Doesn't mean that it was just. Everything Hitler did in Germany was legal. So that means that they're saying it was right. When they held you in slavery and colonization, they said it was right because it was law. Didn't mean that it was truth. It was a lie. See, so now, let me check my time here. Let me look at something here. So now, let's think about another scripture here. That's John 8:32. It says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." St. John 8:32. So we want to, in this platform, for the sake of doing things what we think is right, we want to stick with the fact that truth is going to be the ultimate decision maker for what is right and wrong. So no matter if I come up and tell you that I'm the greatest man in the world, if there's no truth in that, I can believe it and I can think I'm right, but if there's no truth in it, it's not going to stand. If it's got truth in it, truth will always come out on the side of righteous. You stay with truth. Now, the challenge for this is when we have a heart that's set on doing something that we love to do that is not right, and we know it's not right. How are we going to deal with that? If we want to be a person that seeks truth, that looks for truth, that longs to be a right man or a right woman, we're going to eventually yield to it, even if it's against our own desires, because we know that it's the right thing to do. That's what makes you a man. That's what makes you a woman in that sense, because you're going against the wicked desires of your own self in order to embrace a more divine, higher order of living and being accountable to mankind and being accountable to our Creator, God. So the reason why I don't really tear down on the information that's in the scriptures and speak a lot against it, because I'm trying to find the truth. I'm not trying to make it difficult for God to find me. I'm not trying to make it difficult for me to believe God, even though I once had some difficulties. I want to make it to where God can find me. So I'm looking for truth. My heart is open for truth. That's why when I had my conversion at 16 years of age, I was being prepared for it since like 12 years old. And I heard God calling me out from the little street that I was in or whatever, and bringing me over into another life. And when I surrendered to that, it's been challenging all the way through, all the way up until today, but I still wanted truth. Sometimes there were some things that were so hard pressing truth that I didn't even want to know anymore, because I saw some things that were really challenging. And sometimes you try to close your ears to it, but if your heart is turned towards what is right, you're going to eventually pick the right way, and you're going to come out ahead. Now, my time is up. I hope I didn't ramble too much off the topic, but I was trying to stay on something and let it flow and try to give us a feel for what is truth and lie, but that it's the ultimate thing is we want to make sure that it's the more foundational thing we're going to go with that makes us right or wrong. So I close here. Thank you for joining me, and we'll come back with maybe a part 2. God bless you.